Good evening, Randy Small, Whatcom County weather, and we are coming live just to talk about this week's forecast, and we'll look at the observations here just a minute. Yeah, a lot of questions about what might be coming down next week. So we'll maybe sneak a look at a possibility of what Thanksgiving week will also be, but a little bit far out. But we're streaming on YouTube. So we got Facebook. I think they're both going here. Hopefully, you can hear me now that I am off mute. So Randy Small, Whatcom County weather. I'm just doing this from my office tonight, and let's look at the current observations here. We got a little bit of south wind here in the southwest county, and a little bit of northeast wind in the northeast part of the lowlands. A little bit breezier up on the top of the mountain, but a lot of just about everybody in the upper 40s, just quick observation, or low to mid 50s. Anywhere where the south wind is, looks like it's a little warmer. Anywhere where there's north wind, it's a little cooler. That always is that case in the winter time. I'm going to zoom out and look down here at Skagit, where we've got lots of temps in the mid 50s with some southerly breeze. A little bit of northerly breeze here at this gauge here, not far out of Bow here, kind of off Chuckanet area. I think that is, well, a little east of Chuckanet there. But again, mid 50s there as well. Zooming back out into lower BC, you're going to have some, and I'm not very good at putting this into Celsius, but you got similar temps up here in the South BC area. So not much for wind. I mean, a little bit here, but things are looking good. Let's take a look at the Bellingham temperatures here. And, well, not the Bellingham temperatures. I want to look at the precip for today. That's what I wanted to look at. I haven't had a chance to go through all of this, but definitely got a little bit of rain at the airport. So just kind of looking at some of that here. So not a huge amount recorded today. Let's pull up the precip for the last 48 hours here. And so we're showing 3/4 of an inch at the airport. So that would be from since 9 o'clock on Friday night. So we had a good amount of rain earlier Friday night into Saturday, and then even last night into this morning, and some drizzly stuff for sure. My son was out for a walk, and he was complaining that the rain was hitting him constantly in the face. But it wasn't, it was more drizzly, blowing just a little bit into his face as he was walking. Anyway, but you can see, 2/3, 3/4 of an inch. A little bit lighter down here in South Whatcom. Up on the mountain, 1 point, a little over an inch. Up at the ski area, almost an inch. And then if we zoom out to Skagit, they're a little bit on the drier side, as you can see. Not a huge amount at the Skagit Airport, 0.30 there at that station just east of Chuckanet. And then going across the border here, trying to add in a little bit more here of our followers. It looks like Whatcom County got the main part of this. But up here east of Chilliwack towards Hope area, 0.34. And then 0.43, actually a little closer to Hope, but up in between Chilliwack and Hope. And then, just 1/4 inch-ish in the Vancouver area. A little bit more, looks like, in North Surrey area. Across the river here, Pitt Meadows, not quite a 1/2 inch. So you can kind of see some of the similar numbers, but a little less than what we got here in the lowlands of Whatcom County. So let's take a look at our year-to-date here for the Bellingham International Airport. We're looking at 5.2 inches as our normal for the month of November. Let's take a look. I haven't looked at this lately. We do this every time. And we are at 4.65. That does not count today. So add in about another 1/10 of an inch. We are closing in on normal for about half the month here, well, through the 16th. So we are almost to average for the month of November. So that's a good thing, as we were way behind when we are in mid-October. And let's take a look at the accumulation graph. We are closing that gap here. Again, in October about 18th, we were 4 inches behind or so, close to that. We've looked at this a bunch of times. And now the gap, not counting today because it's missing, is that under 2 inches? Normal is 28.02, and we're at 26.24. So we are now about 1.75 or so, give or take, inches. So we've closed the gap 2.25 inches. Okay? Since in less than a month. Almost a month. So that's pretty cool to see. Let's take a look at the ski area. were above freezing for today, both the ski area and at 5,000 feet Pan Dome slash, I know the thing is at Pan Dome, but it's basically the same height as Artist Point. So we got no new snow. It's all been rain at 5,000 feet and below. And actually, you could probably say 6,000 feet with those numbers as well. So not a whole lot, at least in the today period, the 24-hour. If you look at the 7-day period at the ski area, just not really seeing it. Maybe on the 14th, there might have been a little bit of snow up there. And yeah, a little bit on the 14th, possibly, where we were dipping around the freezing mark, and we had a little bit of precip over here. But we have, in the last week at the ski area, is that 6.68 inches in the last 7 days? I believe that is correct. That is correct. So they have got almost 7 inches of precip in the last week at the ski area. Now, a little bit of that might have been snow. But again, I don't see that the snow gauge is on yet, the snowboard is on, so we don't know any calculations as far as I know. Just quickly looking at the water vapor loop, not really seeing anything that's putting too much precip down. You know, we got some clouds streaming around here, but nothing really standing out on this satellite tonight. In fact, if we pull up the radar, we're going to see a similar thing. Just a little bit of showers hanging around, and it looks like we have a little bit of line over here, but really here in the lowlands, not a whole lot. Doesn't mean we aren't going to see a little bit of precip over tonight, but again, just not, main activity has ended here as we're looking at this radar. There's just not a lot of action. We can take a look quickly out off the coast, and we got this action down here in the Oregon area. We look at the Portland radar, and it's actually running. It was down, I think, the other day for quite a while, but it looks like it's back up and running. So anyway, we like to use this radar because it really picks up our terrain the best. This one is second, even though it's right across the border. It hits some of the hills, and we can't pick up some of the foothills as good as this one. And then the Camano Island radar doesn't pick up, honestly, any of our hills really at all. And it also has a gap issue due north of the radar. And someday I'll tell you what my theory is about that. Someday I'm going to go down there and investigate that. But I have a theory why the gap is due north here. But I think it has to do with the beam is hitting the hills that are just north of where that radar is. And I have done some terrain research online, but I need to put my eyes on it. But that's another story for another day. So that's our radar tonight. Most of the observations. And I will try to answer some of the questions tonight as well. Again, if you'd like the post on YouTube and Facebook, that'll be help for us. If you will follow us on Facebook or on YouTube, subscribe is a big help as well. And just continue to appreciate your support in everything that we are trying to do here. And again, still working out the bugs with some of this as we go. Let's take a look then at what we see in tonight's runs of the GFS. And I don't know if the Euro has started. It hasn't. Well, let me refresh this. No, it has not, the night run. But let's take a look at the 0Z tonight. This is kind of our elongated trough / upper level low. It's kind of elongated all the way from way up here down. I mean, honestly, it goes way down to Mexico, but the main energy is sitting right off, or the most energy is kind of sitting off the Oregon California border, just a little bit south, but way out in the ocean there. But that's giving us, and I'm sure California and some of Oregon, the precip that we're seeing tonight. So let's put this into motion as we go into Monday. We see kind of a little bit of a trough, a small upper level low kind of look over us as we go into Monday. And it looks like a very weak ridge, almost like a dirty ridge here, although it starts to build a little bit on this run here. We see this big upper level low going into California. That's probably going to keep going and kind of start to lose some of its energy, but that is pushing east. Look at it all the way into the Baja and down into Mexico. Meanwhile, we've kind of got a split up here as well. I'm going to back this up. This one, this upper level low spinning out of the Gulf is going to split here on this run tonight. We can just see that. Part of it goes up to the BC, northern BC, and then the southern lobe, so to speak, kind of heads back down here to the California, Oregon. That's Wednesday into Thursday. And we got, again, this ridgy ridge that's trying to build, but it's not, it's flat. It's not amped up at all, so to speak. And so that's not going to probably last, at least on this run as we head into Friday. But there might be a little bit of, this isn't showing a ton of of anything crazy for this week. That's what I'm seeing right off the bat. In fact, some maybe dry periods for sure as we go into the weekend. And then we got this big upper level low just hanging off of Mexico here and the southern southwest California. That finally goes inland here towards into Mexico, southwest Arizona, southern California. And then we got this piece of energy building again. And that pushes us into next week. I'm kind of looking to see what next week also may look like. And then we'll see if any ridge builds here. We're on the 18Z. It was crazy for snow, by the way. But the 0Z is already, I think, looks like that's basically given everything up here. Or at least, well, here towards the end of the run. But this big time ridge is not in a good spot to hold much cold air. But we could see some mountain snow with that pattern here. So that's kind of where that run ends tonight. That's just one run, but it gives us an idea about this week. Let's take a look at the 18Z. Actually, let's go back to the 12Z Euro. Even though that was run early there today, and I'm just going to put it into motion. Here goes that big upper level low. It's spinning around here as we go into midweek. Now, it seems like there's some difference here. Yeah, it feels like there's a difference in the 12Z Euro, and I might be able to pull up the difference here with even the 0Z tonight. But where this thing split on the 0Z, this kind of holds together and doesn't allow that ridge that we saw flat on the 0Z. It doesn't hold together. And here we got this energy coming down towards us, which is going to keep us more wet on this run, it appears like to me. And then we got this going way down into Mexico. But, of course, we're not quite as concerned about that unless you're heading to Mexico for a week of vacation. This is you might have a cooler time, so to speak. But this would be some potential precipitation. So the Euro 12Z looks like it's considerably wetter than what I'm seeing on the 0Z, just by looking at the 500 millibar pattern. Here comes some more energy as we go into next week. This has a potential right here. You're starting to see this ridge try to build a little bit, and you're seeing all this potential of, and I'd have to look at where the cold air is and how far it's coming, but this has mountain snow written all over it for next week, at least on this run. And here comes some more. Look at this. So here comes some more. This would be a huge beneficial boost to the snowpack if this were to happen. Now, this is getting into la land, as we say, 342 hours out from the 12Z today. But this has, let's go ahead, let's look at the Euro 12Z for snow. And I'm going to see that it is very snowy, not for the lowlands, but for the mountains. Let's put this into motion here as we go in. Here comes some snow early this week, not a whole lot for the mountains. And let's just, as we head toward the end of this, there's going to be snow down here as well. Now watch this. Here comes the Oregon snow that I was just saying. Look at this. See, there's going to be some beneficial snow. And then look at this. Look at all this mountain snow next week, potentially. Or actually at the end of this week as we go into next week. Again, this is not a high-res model, but it gives us some idea. I told you this run was going to be snowy for the mountains. And we're only, we're barely into next week. Look at this snow. Here it comes. All the way down the Cascades, except here in, is that 84? I'm not sure where exactly 84 goes, but it goes in there somewhere. But otherwise, look at all this snow. This would knock out Highway 20 for the year, even, for sure, one would think. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I told you this had a whole bunch of mountain snow. Nothing in the lowlands, per se, that I see. Snow in the Olympics, nothing in the coastal range. But look at this. And even snow into eastern Washington. Look at some of these places. Now, this is way out there, but I told you the Euro had a lot of snow. The 0Z tonight, there's no way it's going to have as much snow. Look at this. It's got some in the North Cascades. And this is, oh yeah, a little bit here. Let's see, maybe but it's not near as snowy. Look at this, not near. Get some into Oregon, but nothing. And I guess that's as far as I went with that. Let me refresh. So definitely snow in the mountains. It actually pushes it more down here into the northeast Oregon. And again, this is one run. But that's just the difference that you see between now. The Euro 0Z is not out. This was the Euro from earlier, but you can see how snowy this potentially is for the mountains at the end of this week into next week. So that begs the question as we go into next week, if the Euro were to verify, or, it may not put out these numbers, but we would have to watch the passes for Thanksgiving week. I think that's what I would be saying here, but the GFS is not in agreement with this, so way too early to say, but something to keep an eye on is how will the passes be around here? This is Thanksgiving Day or early morning. Maybe there's a dry spell there, but just something to keep our eye on. So let's take a look at the precipitation for the GFS. As we put this into motion, a little bit of precip coming on Monday, according to this. Well, not too bad. Okay, but then maybe a dry Tuesday, it looks like, or mostly dry. Maybe still a chance of showers going into Wednesday. Where's that ridge was kind of flat, but is holding a lot of this rain out. But look at down here. Look at all the energy going down into California, Southwest Oregon. And again, we can pull that up here. You can kind of see all this, and even down here. And I bet you if we push this into motion, that later one's going to, yeah, here it comes into Baja, right? Into Mexico. And then it pushes in. Look at Arizona getting in on the fun. Mexico, look at this. See? So that's what that big upper level low coming in is, and this is a couple of them. So interesting to see. Let's go back to where we live, which is in the Pacific Northwest. And this is for Wednesday into Thursday into Friday. Not a whole ton. Looks like toward the weekend. The GFS is wanting to deliver some rain on Saturday, maybe, for Whatcom County. Yep, and into Sunday. Okay, and I almost think that's a little different than what the 12Z, it is. The 0Z is wetter than the 12Z today. So that's interesting to note that it's bringing more rain here now. Yeah, look at this. That's different than what I saw earlier today. So, but that's into next week. What I'm seeing for this week is tomorrow at times, Tuesday maybe a little bit, but a little bit of a break into Wednesday with potential of, a little bit of precip off and on over the next couple days. Let's see if the euro is kind of somewhat in an agreement here. Let's do the 18Z. This is the precip earlier today. Now we go in a little bit of precip on tomorrow. So definitely Monday into Tuesday has some precip, and then drying. Tuesday mostly into Wednesday looks like is drying, not totally dry necessarily, but mostly. Even into Thursday, here's all this precip down here. So there's pretty good agreement about that as we come into Thursday. And then here comes the precip towards the weekend. So Saturday, and that's where the 18Z ends. So I think we can get a pretty good idea of what we're going to be seeing for this week by those runs. We've looked at the snow maps. Let's take a look at wind and the potential for gusts. I think the UW is partially out for tonight. So yep, 0Z for Monday is out. So let's just put this into motion. Here's a little bit of northeast, easterly, southerly battle here going on tonight. And now it looks like turning somewhat westerly, southerly over into Monday. Not seeing a whole lot for surface winds here into Tuesday. A little bit of northeast flow might be on Wednesday, so we'll keep an eye on that. Not seeing much here as we go into even Friday. This is where we might have to, a little bit, some southerlies along the water coming into Friday. And then a little bit of northwesterlies coming in, and that's getting way past the time. Well, actually, that was today. I think that's where the UW ends is Friday morning. So a little bit of wind possibility there on Friday morning is kind of, and then that's the end of it for tonight. And as far as we want to look right now. So we'll keep an eye as we get in later in the week with the potential of some southerlies along in the islands and out on the waterways and along the coastline or along the Bellingham, Ferndale area. And then I can't see past that tonight because that's the end of the high-res run. I'm going to take a look at some comments here. I have not been following the comments. So Alex is on YouTube. Great to see you. Thank you. He is if you want a definition of a great neighbor, he is the definition of a great neighbor. And lots I could talk about him, but I might get in trouble because I might say too many nice things. So, but no, appreciate that. One of the biggest supporters here. Josh says, a nice breeze in Geneva. Is that a southerly breeze or a northerly? I'm guessing it's a southerly. Keith has joined us. I think he's joined us every YouTube live from Bellingham area. Alex wants to know if freezing drizzle is referred to as frizzle. Oh boy. This is what's going on while I'm on my live. They're chatting away like this. Keith is asking, a lot of forecasters are talking about a cold snap during Thanksgiving with possible snow. So let me pull you up why this has been discussed. So this is a great question. And I'm pulling up the Climate Prediction Center. CPC is kind of what the shorthand is. And if you look at the 8 to 14 day, which encompasses what? Thanksgiving week. You see that the probability is below normal for temperatures. Now, that technically could be 1 degree below normal. and it would still count. But the darker the blues, or as you go into the purple, the more they're basically saying it's happening and it's going to be cooler. The precipitation is pretty much near normal. But I think this is kind of what they're looking at, and where the eastern U.S. is kind of looking above normal. Okay, that's what they're looking at. The 3 to 4 week outlook, which was issued on Friday, is pushing the cold from the end of November into December to mainly the upper Midwest, right here. I mean, that would include a big swath, but the main area. So that would tell me the main cold is going to push east after Thanksgiving. But this is what we're kind of looking at, is in that 8 to 14. And so what we need to take a look at, and there it is, there's the big map here. And again, that was issued today. Okay, I think they update those just about every day. But what we want to look at is some of their messages, and we posted this a little bit, but some of their key messages, they were talking about a colder pattern is likely for the West. So, and they're taking this a lot off some of the ensembles. Let me show you, and actually I haven't looked at this lately, but let me just look at the 12Z and Euro ensemble. And I'm wondering if this is the main part, and it is. So you see this stuff right here. The Euro, see this right here? That's what we're talking about. This is next week. Okay? This is the ensemble. It's an average of 50 different individualized runs with little different changes, and they average them together. And this is next Tuesday. And what I see here is see this cold potential, and then we've got this ridge, and right here as we go into Wednesday, Thursday. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be snow. Here comes more. This is the ensemble run, and this is the kind of stuff that they're looking at more than they are looking at the deterministic, this individual bit, the 12Z, the 0Z, the main run. They're probably mostly looking at the ensembles right now, and especially the Euro, since the Euro is just kind of the gold standard that we have. And so if you want to see something here, let me show you something. Hold on one second. I got to get organized. Let me go to the EPS, which is the Euros ensemble here, and let me just put up this. Okay, so not really advertising much for cold air at the airport. Oh, that's the 18Z. I want to look at the 12Z. That's why. There you go. So here's the Euro. This is what I was expecting right here. See this? This is this week. Okay, temperatures. And I'm not saying these are the final temperatures, but this is kind of what the ensemble's saying. A little bit cooler Tuesday, Wednesday. That's because that ridge, maybe there's some sunshine, and that's what's making this cooler. I'm guessing that right here. Maybe some foggy mornings here coming, possibly. Okay, but see this dip down as we go into next week? Look at this. So 42 of a high next Tuesday, 39, 31. You say, oh, it's not that cold. Well, it isn't, but that is some of the colder temps we've had. In fact, it would be the coldest. I think it's only frozen twice. I guess it's frozen twice at the airport, I think, this year. But this would be, kind of a cool, compared to what we've had. And actually, if you go back to the average temperature, we are 3.5 degrees above normal right now. So we're averaging 54.5 degrees. Okay, we've had several 60-degree days. One at 59. So we've been very warm for the month of November. So it's going to feel cold if that happens. Okay. So that's kind of what they're showing. But where are we going to find snow? Now, is Bellingham Airport going to show snow? I mean, we can take a look at what the ensemble might be looking at for snow at the airport, but it's almost pointless. Okay. So I'll show you the Bellingham International Airport. About a third of these 50 members are showing trace to several inches of snow next week. But that means absolutely nothing. Way too far out. Snow is so hard to forecast here, let alone to get to happen, let alone this early in the season. Now it can, but the Euro is, it's trying to show that some think it could be cold enough and snow. But what I think we need to look at is the Mount Baker ski area. Now let's take a look at this. Before I look at the snow map, let's look at the temperature map of the ski area. And there you go. So what we have here is a drop down at the ski area. Now hold on. This is the ensemble run from the 12Z earlier. Look what the temperatures are on Wednesday next week at the ski area. 4 degrees. Am I reading this right? That's the average. 4 and 5 degrees. 24 is the high. This with right here from Saturday, not discounting Tuesday, which I think will be a nice day and probably not much for precip. From here, I'm getting lots of texts. My daughter just flew to Chicago and she went with her cousin. And sorry for all the dinging. She's telling us that Chicago's really cold, but she's texting her parents right now, one of which is me. But anyway, look at this. From Saturday on the ensemble run is below freezing for over a week at the ski area. A bold prediction here, if this were to pan out, are you ready for this? Any precip that falls at the ski area, hold on to your hats here, would be snow. Okay, so let's take a look at what the ski area, again, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just saying the question is, what about cold? Keith asked about cold. This is what some of the forecasters are seeing. Now watch this. Let's take a look at the snow at the ski area on this ensemble. I'm going to have to mute all my notifications here because all the dinging. Okay, here we go. Here's the total snow. Look at that. The average, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I get excited though. The average right now of the 50 members through next week is 55 inches of snow at the ski area. That's the average. Some of these members are spinning out 70, 80 inches. I can read the numbers. In fact, if I want to zoom in, well, it's hard to zoom in on this. But anyway, trust me, these are, when you see the purples, those are big numbers. Now, is this going to happen? I don't know. But this is what we're starting to see in the potential of cool down. Would this give us lowland snow? I don't know. I would say the odds are against that for lots of reasons. But the ski area, mountain snow on the Euro, if we look at the GFS, I don't think it's going to be as much on the 18Z ensemble because the 0Z hasn't run yet. Let me look here at the, this would have been the 18Z. It definitely is advertising snow though. Average of about 30 inches. So you get the point. So hopefully that gives you some idea of what we have potential. Could it be nice next week and not cold? Yes. It's too far out yet. Models don't agree yet, and it's way too early to lock in, but there's hints. And that's what we're looking at, and that's what the CPC is looking at as we go in the West. Okay? Okay, yeah, Jennifer said we don't want to scare the cold snap away. That's right. Okay, I'm going over the comments here on YouTube. I lived in Stanwood. I could see Camano Island radar from my front yard. Okay, I know I have an address for it. Okay, Josh, you're saying Highway 20 is closed for the year. Is that new for tonight? Because that was not the case earlier today. And I just lost access to my mouse here. But hold on a second. I want to. Unless that's new, they were going to reevaluate overnight or this tomorrow morning, and I don't think they got much snow. I'd be shocked, but I guess stranger things have happened since there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of snow coming up there over the next couple days. But let me just take a look here. I'm sorry, I'm on my other computer, but yeah, lots of chatter on social media about this, but okay, I'll have to check up, and we'll try to make a post, but I had heard that they were reevaluating Highway 20, so I'll have to come back to that. The mountains could use it, yep. Could see a little outflow around Thanksgiving, definitely on the warm side for November. So, yeah, it's potential is there, I guess, is probably what I'm seeing here as we go. So, okay, yeah, it's temporarily closed, but I don't think it's closed for the year. Is that correct? I thought that's what I was hearing. So, yeah, I think they're reevaluating it tomorrow. So, we will check into that, as we find out more. Okay. Let me take a look. Oh, I wanted to show the Fraser outflow graphic tonight. And so, yeah, we'll take a look at, we'll let you know about State Route 20, and I'll check Facebook comments, and I'll also check the questions from earlier. So if you guys want to just keep watching and holding on, or if you have to go to bed, just let it run, okay? We need all the watch hours we can get to keep boosting the channel. Please tell everybody to subscribe. Please like this. Please help us get the word out, because we need to, if we can get to 500 subscribers on YouTube, that'll be a big help. And we're trying to reach more people. Here's generally what where the Fraser outflow happens. And so it comes sweeping out through this gorge area, and I don't have hope up there and all the way up to Williams Lake. But, well, Williams Lake is not the gorge, but I do have a picture of the gradient. I'll show you that in a minute here. But the northeast outflow just comes flying through here. And it hits Sumas first when it comes to Whatcom County, and then it goes into Linden, especially north and south of town, and then it slams into Ferndale. It hits Everson if you're away from the foothills, so to speak, and then it hits North Bellingham. Okay, the airport definitely gets hammered all the way out to the islands. This line probably should be up a little further north, but a lot of times the northeast wind is not near as much up here, like in the H Street, even Blaine area. Now, there probably is exceptions to that, but this is the main area of the outflow. And what creates the outflow is what we have here. Let me blow this up a little bit. It was what is a gradient, and it's high pressure, and we use a gradient difference between Williams Lake, way up here in BC, and the Bellingham International Airport. And so I wrote this years ago to help, and it measures the difference in pressure between those two locations, where the high pressure, we call it an Arctic high up here in BC, and a lower, less pressure down here. And that difference creates basically a northeast wind, high to low pressure. And the larger the difference, the stronger the wind, and the tighter the gradient of isobars says that, or tells us that it will be stronger. And when I say isobars, let me show you here what I mean by this. And I'm going to pull up Tropical Tidbits here for a minute. I don't know if there's any Fraser outflow. I'm just going to run this showing up on this 0Z run here. Let's see. There's it's not much of an Arctic high, but there's some high pressure up here in BC. And each of these marks are basically create a gradient of pressure. And when you start seeing a high pressure in the 1040, upper 1040s, if we can get to 1050, and then you see obviously lower pressure down here. Then if we have a system that dives down the coast, then we get a blizzard. But that's another story for another day. But you get these tightly wrapped isobars or together, and that creates a pressure gradient, and it creates a strong northeast wind. And when we start getting to minus 20, Jennifer just mentioned that on the YouTube live. When we get to minus 20, we are probably going to see a 50-mile-an-hour northeast wind. When we start getting into minus 22, 23, that's pushing minus 25 gradient difference. So that's the difference between Williams Lake and Bellingham. When you start seeing that number, you better, and if it's going to be cold, you better hold on to your hat. That's all I can say. So, and this is not a good mix, or not a good example here. I mean, the Arctic high is staying around. This would probably create some northeast wind here around Thanksgiving on this run. See those isobars? See how they're kind of tight? This isn't necessarily strong northeast wind, but yeah, there's some, anyway, I don't want to get into this. There's a little low that's diving down, and this low can drag cold air down too. And that's another story for another day as well. We have so much to learn this year. Okay, here we go. Here we go into next Saturday. Here's that Arctic high regurgitating, and look at these isobars. Look at this. That's bringing some cold air down on this run. I'm guessing. See those tight isobars? Ooh, this has got some northeast outflow on it. I can just see that. I'm not saying it's what exactly, but again, this is one run. This is why the CPC is talking about colder air. Yes, Jennifer, I know you said this earlier. That's why I pulled it up. Because actually I hadn't looked at it, but I knew you had said that. So that's why I used it. Okay, and then it kind of disappears, and, we're back. Well, anyway. Let's just say this. This week looks not too bad. Off and on rain at times, especially tomorrow. Tuesday will maybe, kind of drying out there for a little bit. Maybe some more precip later in the week. And then we're going to have to see what happens. Do we get colder air, and do we get a pile of mountain snow? If we were to get 30, 40 inches at the ski area, they're probably looking at opening, by early December. But I don't speak for the ski area. I always say that. That's if this happened. And we don't know. No forecast. Let's take a look at the National Weather Service here to see how we've done tonight. And then I'll check Facebook comments. Let's see if they agree with us, right? That's the goal here. No, just kidding. Let's see. So tonight, kind of a chance of rain, and then later on rain, possibly. Not a huge amount. I always pull up Linden, that's where I have it saved. But Monday night, rain likely. So we kind of said that. Even into Tuesday, but you'll notice less than 1/10 of an inch on Tuesday. Okay, so then it dries out into Wednesday. Look at this. There's a sun peak in there on Wednesday, I swear. Even the moon is showing, right? So, mostly cloudy, but, maybe see some stars on Tuesday night. See the sun, maybe some sun breaks, and we'd have to look at cloud cover. And then Wednesday night into Thursday, we got more rain chances. So that's basically what we said. And then from there, we'd have to dig deeper. We'll put up a forecast as we get into midweek. And speaking of, Jennifer put up a forecast. Let me pull that real quick. Earlier on the page, she put up, I believe, the forecast right here. And she said, let's see what she said. Expect highs this week in the upper 40s to low 50s. And I think that's kind of what we were seeing, but just to double check the forecast. 49, 50, 52, 53. Okay, we're going to call Jennifer good on that one. Tuesday could see temps slipping in the mid upper 30s. And we already mentioned that. There it is, 38. Maybe some cold pool areas, depending on clearing. Could see a little bit of light frost. Okay, Cold Pool Valley areas, kind of like Van Wyck area, Dewey Valley, and some places that where the cold air pools, kind of up in Deming area, maybe so to speak. Okay, let's see what else she says. She's doing great here. I actually didn't really read this earlier. I just trust my workers to do this right, and they just nail it almost every time. And we can't be perfect either, but we try. The week starts off with off and on rain showers and drizzle, but totals look light. Generally under 1/2 an inch through Tuesday. Nailed it. That's what I'm seeing. We'll see a brief break late Tuesday into Wednesday. Nailed it. But rain chances return. I mean, it's like reading. I never read this before. I saw she posted it. I didn't read it, though. I've been really busy today. Keep an eye on the wind late in the week. Okay. I think she did mention that to me, that she had posted that. I know there's a lot of chatter about Thanksgiving week, cooler temps, and even the occasional teasing snowflake showing up on the apps, but it's too early to predict exactly what will happen. We're watching the model runs closely. Okay, good enough. She's hired. Okay, great job on that forecast tonight. I'll check your question in just a minute. By the way, there was a question about about who posted the post earlier with the forecast, and that was Sean. Anyway, that was good for you guys. We were going back and forth, and obviously you don't know who's commenting half the time and who's posting, but Jeff Harrington, Randy's arguing with himself again. Yeah, well, I wasn't, but it looked like it. So Sean likes to post the apps just to kind of see what you guys see on those apps, but there's uncertainty, and that's why the different apps are showing different stuff. Okay, let's look at the questions tonight. I can't wait to see these questions from earlier. Jennifer asked, Dan asked, when do you predict the Mount Baker ski area to open? Well, I didn't look at these questions, okay? Maybe a couple of them I saw, but not this one. Well, I already talked about that. If I were to predict, it's too early for me to predict it, but if the snow that I'm seeing on the Euro were to happen, I would say early December, but I don't speak for the ski area, please. Annie says she doesn't want snow until Christmas Eve. If we get snow on Christmas Eve, I will go without snow if we promise that it's coming on Christmas Eve. I would absolutely love 2 feet on Christmas Eve, but that's another story. Robert says, when will this not snowing weather end? Okay, your guess is as good as mine. Stefan's always got a great comment. Here we go. If salmon swim across a road and I pick them up, is it a traffic violation or a fishing violation? Well, that's an easy answer. Depends on if you're fishing from your car or from the side of the road. If you're in your car while you're fishing, it's a traffic violation, but if you're fishing on the side of the road, it's a fishing violation. Norm says, will the weather next week, put our grass lawns in hibernation? Potentially, but we don't know yet. When will the grass turn white? Josh asks. Jennifer answered, when we get the next frost. Good answer. Yes, the grass will turn white. I don't know when. Okay. Let's check the comments on the live stream tonight. This is great. I'm having a lot of fun with this. Let's see what are the new comments. Let's see if I can pull them up here. Or am I going to have to refresh this page? Okay, hold on. I'm not seeing too many new comments on the... Maybe nobody's hearing me on the live stream tonight. This isn't good. Well, I got 19 people watching, so it got to be some people here. But not a lot of comments here on Facebook, unless I'm just missing them. So you guys on Facebook are quiet. All the comments are coming in on YouTube. Come on, Facebook people. Or am I just missing them here? Let me check a look. No, I'm not seeing any. So let's check YouTube one more time. Oh, boy. I said that earlier. I see that. Okay, Keith saw what I'm talking about. I don't know all your names because I don't know who's who. But get the trampoline taken apart this week. Yeah, let's keep an eye on it. Let me just say this. I'm not sold on the cold air yet for next week. And I'm not, for sure, not sold anything on northeast wind much. And I'm not sold on any lowland snow, of course. I won't ever be sold on that till probably the day before on most of these storms that we get in the lowlands. I'm not even sold on mountain snow yet. But if we get cold air and we get precipitation, then I get sold on mountain snow rather quickly. Let's just watch it over the next couple days. We'll do another live. Although I'm not going to be able to do one Wednesday night, so we'll have to see when I'll do the next one. But Jennifer's not trying to get too hyped for next week. Fair enough. Yep, Jennifer said, okay, too bad it's cloudy. Oh, yeah. Meteor shower will peak tonight. I know we've been skunked most of what we've had lately. I'm really bummed about the aurora, not being able to see it when somebody else could. But there'll be more. Jennifer says she mentioned that forecast to remain on the calm side. Yes, we do have a great crew here. We have a great crew. Okay. Okay, well, if the Facebook commenters have moved to YouTube, then it's a good thing we're on YouTube now. So, and put us up on the big screen. Watch it with your kids. Watch it with your grandma and grandpa. Watch it with your mom and your mother-in-law. Tell your mother-in-law that Randy is on Whatcom County Weather Live on YouTube. Tell her. And you're going to have a better relationship because you told her. Make sure you tell people to subscribe. The best way is word of mouth. Share it on social media. That's also a great way, of course. But let other people know that we're live streaming on Whatcom County Weather on YouTube now. We're on Facebook. We're trying to get more people here. Share it. Watch, like, subscribe. What other things can I say? But I really appreciate all of you. Is there anything else? Jana asks, okay, we got a comment on Facebook. Will UW make a bowl game? Well, they've won 7 games, haven't they? Right? They're going to make a bowl game. UW football. I didn't know I was going to talk everything like this. UW football schedule. And what is their record? They're 7-3, aren't they? Or am I right? I think they're 7-3. Yes, they're making a bowl game. Yes, and they should win. They should win against UCLA, but is that a road game because they struggle on the road? So anyway, so that answers that question. Yeah, they're definitely going to a bowl game. Okay. Anything else that you guys want me to mention weather related? I mean, I could talk sports. I could talk about the Seahawks, but anyway, enough of that. Okay. We will call it a night. I've been here long enough talking. I need to get some sleep. Yeah, it's great. We'll keep an eye on next week. We'll see you on the other side. Have a great night. Thank you, Whatcom County. Thank you, Skagit, Snohomish, King, South BC, Island, San Juan County. You're all great. Have a great night.